Hi, it's Jan Peter, and today I have something here that is a first for this channel. It's not the first Atari at all, but it is the first Atari computer that I show on my channel here. I acquired this together with quite a large box of all kinds of Ataris, reaching from the Atari VCS to the Atari ST line. And I'm very much looking forward to trying it all out. But this is the one I am particularly interested in, as it's one of my favorite Atari computers ever, I think. It's the 8-bit Atari 800XL. And I got this from eBay together with the rest of the big box. It is optically, it's not looking that great. It's very dirty and yellowed. The keys have seen better days, but it's in one piece and everything seems to be alright with it. There's no broken off pieces or anything. It seems it just was sitting in an attic or something for years and years. So what I'm going to do today is to open this thing up, maybe clean it a bit, have a look at the circuitry in there, and then I'm going to try to power it on and see if it works. I don't have any peripherals yet, or I haven't even figured out how to connect this thing properly, so that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, so let's see how do we get this open. There's a couple of screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see on the bottoms, this is probably what the original color looked like. And I recently heard that it's not the bromide, as I was telling you all the time. That's the bromide in the plastic used as a flame retardant is causing the yellowing. It seems that's only a small part, and that ABS plastics are a mix of different chemicals basically, and they break down over time. And half the chemicals are there so that it doesn't break down, the plastic itself doesn't become brittle, and the bromide is just a small part of that. So it's a mix of different processes at work there causing the yellowing. Let's see how we open this. Ah, this opens to the side, it seems. Did I forget a screw? No. Okay. There we go. Okay, and this thing just has I don't know if you can see it, there's a ribbon flat flex cable there, very similar to the ones used in the ZX Spectrum. It connects the top half to the bottom half. Okay, here we are. It doesn't look too bad at all. There's a lot of grounding going on here on the top part. This ground wire grounding this whole thing, and the cartridge port bezel here. There's a little spring-loaded wire that probably presses down on the shielding here, so that the ground from the shielding connects to the cartridge port 2 and to the keyboard. It does look much cleaner than I expected, so that's good. There are 2 screws here. I see. We have to remove those screws, obviously. Shorter screws, screw this in the case. So then, okay, that's interesting. So now we should be able to remove this. It's easy. Yeah, now it's loose. Okay, and we can wiggle our way. Yeah, there we go. So I think we have to remove all the screws from the shield here in order to remove it. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's take off this part of the shield. Oh, there's one of those cardboard things in there, and well, the other part of the shield came off. Okay, looks like we are lucky, and this is a revision that has all the ICs socketed. which would make repairing this, in case it's broken, a lot easier, of course, obviously. Okay, the date codes are 1983 mostly, I think. 84. So this is probably, maybe it was repaired, maybe it is a machine from 1984, which is most likely, I guess. There's some botch wire connections going on there, but this looks pretty tidy compared to like the Commodore 64 and stuff. This looks more tidy, I think. There's a lot less stuff on here, while it has nearly the same capabilities. It's better in some respects than the Commodore 64. So here's a RAM on the left side here, 8 times 8 kilobytes of RAM, which gives the machine 64K of RAM. This is the GTA graphics chip. This is called the Antic, that also has some graphics functions. It's responsible for keyboard functions too. This here is the processor. In Atari circles it's named Sally. It really is a 6502 that has been modified a bit. It's really a 6502C that runs with 1.77 megahertz in the PAL machines. It's a little bit more in the NTSC machines, I guess. This is the PIA, developed by MOS Technologies, just like the processor. The MOS code for this is 6520, which it says on there. This one was manufactured by Rockwell. It is a parallel input-output chip. And this one is the famous Pokey chip, which is responsible for sound and for the interrupts in the system, and also has some functions for the keyboard input. Controller ports, 2 Atari-style joystick ports, obviously, because it's an Atari. This is our 16 kilobyte operating system ROM. This is our basic ROM. This is a Rev B basic. So the other stuff is glue logic and minor stuff. This is the SIO port, which is the ports you connect peripherals to, like your floppy disk drive or your dataset or your whatever. This is the parallel port that's directly connected, as you can see here nicely, to the processor as well as to the PIA. This is our monitor port, 5-pin DIN connector, which has composite out on there. This is an RF modulator, similar to the ones you see in the other computers of the era, like the ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64. Basically, you connect an antenna cable to this and connect it to your television and tune into the right channel. This is the power jack for the 5 volts DC input. On the NTSC models, there's a little channel switch here, where there's the unpopulated holes in the PCB here. Power switch. Yeah, so that's basically what's on this board. Keyboard connector, obviously, it's here. Anything I missed out on? Cartridge connector. Yeah, that's all there's to it. Nice, clean little board layout. Really, really cool board. So, okay, I can't see anything burned or shorted or broken or anything like that. So, probably we should try to power this thing on, I guess. As with many computers from the 80s, the power jack on the Atari is a round DIN connector. That is, in this case, a 7-pin DIN. I am using Hirschmann connectors here, and I'm going to make a cable. This is an MIS70S, so that's if you want to buy one of these. By the way, I have the original power brick, which looks like this, Atari logo. But I'm not gonna use it for this test or anytime else. I think I'm just gonna keep this kind of like in the museum, because these are built the same way like the Commodore 64 power supplies are built. It's basically a transformer, rectifier, and then a little voltage regulator that puts out the 5 volts output that this has, which makes it a very clean output as long as it works. But if the voltage regulator fail, they basically put out the input voltage on the output, which would cause the computer to go up in flames. No, not go up in flames, but most of the ICs won't take it for long. So I thought I'd better make my own cable and use that rather than to risk damaging the computer with this potentially damaged old school original power supply. I don't recommend using these at all. They are known, just like the Commodore 64 ones, to fail over the years and damage the computers, which isn't really worth it. As this is just, there's no AC or something uncommon like in the Commodore 64 power supply. You just can use basically any good 5 volt power supply that outputs over 1 amp. I think you should go like something like 1.5 amps or 2 amps at the very least. So good power supply with 5 volts, a little above 1 amp will do. Let's look at the pinout there, because that's pretty interesting. Okay, so here's what the pinout is. I got this from the Atari Age forums. Somewhere somebody made this little GIF. This is the view from the solder side of the plug. So if you're looking through the plug like this at the contacts from the solder side, I always find it easier to have pinouts from the solder side, because I'm going to solder some wires on there. And as you can see, basically this side, the 6, 1 and 4 are all +5. The 7, 3 and 5 are ground. That is to basically make the diameter the current travels through a bit bigger. And it also serves as, of course, makes better contacts. If there are 3 pins that make contact, but it's better than 1 pin making contact. They are connected together anyway in the Atari 800XL, I believe. So yeah, basically it's one side plus, one side minus. That's all there is to it. And basically you could just put 1 pin here and 1 pin here and have the same result. I saw people sticking, hello Paul, sticking wires into the jack on the Atari 800 and some crocodile clamps and connecting it to their bench power supply. Or a USB power supply or something like that that outputs 5 volts. So that would work. Yeah, that's more or less exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect some wires to this and connect it to my bench power supply here, and then power the Atari with it. Okay, it's a special kind of a joke thing, but it is nice wiring. I'm going to use this speaker cable because it looks pretty awesome, and it has a red marked wire here, so it's going to be easy to see which wires are which. And I think I am going to make a proper power supply for this later on, so I can use this cable as the proper power cable. It says here there's the 2 is for the shielding, but usually you don't need shielding for these simple power supplies. I've seen many. I know. I mean, the original power supply is clearly not shielded because it's 2 separate wires, just like these. Yeah, we are fine. The shielding is just to filter out RF stuff, and I don't think it's necessary. Okay, I'm just gonna tin these ends here. These are pretty. The diameter is pretty much over the top for one amp. But better 2 large wires than 2 skinny. So I'm just going to go and solder these all together, I guess. That looks kind of good. Okay, so let's see. The positive side should be this side, so I'm just going to put this on here. And the negative side should be this side, so I'm going to put this on here. Could of course add some wires or stuff like that to bridge the pins. Now, this is a messy but perfectly working. Nice solar blobs there. This should do. Looks pretty nice with the naked cable there. Okay, this should do. Let's try. The good thing about these bench power supplies is that they are current limited. So if something goes wrong, they are going to shut down the voltage at a very low current. So that nothing, hopefully nothing gets damaged if there's something going wrong in the computer. So for the video connection, it is pretty handy that I can just use the 5-pin connector. And the 5-pin connector has the same pinout as the 5-pin connector that you use for the Commodore 64 composite cables. The S-video cables, here's one. For the Commodore 64, they have too many pins, obviously. But these composite cables for the Commodore 64 work with the Atari 800XL. Okay, it's set to 5 volts. This thing in here should fit. Yeah, it does. Okay, yeah, I guess let's try this. Fingers crossed that it just works. Okay. And as you can maybe see, it says ready. It's working. It's totally working. Nice! So I have to connect the keyboard back so I can do stuff. Oh. But this is very promising. Power supply. Oh, and the power light comes on too. There we go. And if I type buy, which is funny, it should go into self-test, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Select, start or reset. Let's do a self-test, shall we? Okay, let's do a memory test. Start. Oh, this seems to take a while. Seems to be a thorough test of RAM. Okay, this RAM test really takes a minute there. It seems to test all the RAM, and that's 64 kilobytes. That's a lot. So I guess we just skip to the end. Okay, it seems to start over automatically, so we're just going to help. Oh, okay, it's just exiting. Okay, the memory. Let's do the audio-visual test. Okay, it seems to work. Nice. Maybe we should do the keyboard test. Start. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm just pressing the buttons, the keys, and they flash on screen there. Okay. So the shift keys, the shift keys are only working together with another letter. Okay. Control, same as with shift. Control only shows if I press control and another letter. So this works. This is a fully working Atari 800XL. At the moment, I can't really do anything to show this machine up because I don't even have a cartridge there. I basically have nothing that connects to this except for the cables I just made and joysticks. So if you have any suggestions on what to get, or modern peripherals or old peripherals for the Atari 800XL, I basically am new to this range of computers, so I don't know much about them yet. I am learning. As you know, I'm always learning while I'm doing this stuff, and I'm presenting my learning process to you, which probably makes it interesting. I learn while I make these videos, basically. So if you have any suggestions or any donations of hardware-wise, feel free to contact me in the comments on Twitter, via email. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little inspection of the Atari 800XL. It is fully working, as you've seen. I'm really looking forward to doing stuff with this. Hope you stay tuned for the other videos that are going to come in the future. If you want to give me some support to make things like this possible, check out my Patreon. There's always going to be some behind the scenes outtake-ish kind of vlog stuff there. For example, there's my unboxing of the whole Atari lot that I bought is on there. Thanks for watching. I'm Jan Beta. Hopefully see you again on this channel. Bye.